review. Book one is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a clinical herbalist and holistic health consultant with a Master of Science in Herbal Medicine and is a certified aromatherapist with the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy and founder too, no other than Miss Bonnie the Arcangelo.
Hello, Daniel.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Bonnie, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. Excited to be here today. So, as you said, I'm a master herbalist and holistic health consultant, and a lot of my work in scientific research it focuses on how we can better deliver herbal medicine and make it easily accessible to a wide audience, so that we can start to improve our health naturally.
Miss Bonnie the Arcangelo, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about the future of herbal medicine, changing the way we take herbs. What inspired you or your interest in the future of herbal medicine and its evolving applications?
Well, one of the things that I notice in my clinical practice that just repeated from client to client is issues with intake and metabolism. So, one, lack of compliance of people wanting to take their herbal protocols, one, because maybe they didn't taste good or it was too cumbersome. And people in modern day society really just want a pill to pop and to be done and over with it. And the other thing that I noticed that my clients were taking their herbal protocols and their regimens we're having malabsorption issues. And it's a common health issue that we have in our modern day society that we just have a poor gut health. And due to those factors, we're really not absorbing all of the stuff that we intake into our body. So we have a lot of nutrient deficiencies. And it's really hard to get the herbal medicines into the body and into the systems. So I started working on developing a transdermal application for herbal products, meaning that we can apply it topically to the skin. And so not only can I help to make your skin beautiful, but I can also help to improve the way that you're taking your herbal medicine. And so it started with a lot of research into our main carrier, which is a silicon plasma hydrate. And we designed this to mimic the plasmic fluids in the body and use this to help to drive our herbal ingredients past that skin barrier and deep into the cell's tissues. And so it developed into a patent pending formula that we currently use in every single one of our products. And we have seen extreme success in treating some conditions that previously I was really struggling to help my clients with.
Interesting indeed, Miss Bonnie. And how do you see herbal medicine fitting into modern healthcare systems in the coming years?
I see there being a beautiful bridge between modern healthcare and herbal medicine. And I talk about this one a lot. We have a kind of a gap between herbal protocols and traditional conventional medicine, as it's called over here in the US. And there's a lot of ways that they can help to assist each other. It's not one or the other. It's not like, oh, I either take the pharmaceutical drugs from my doctor or I take the herbs from my herbalist. They actually can help to support. And there's a lot of research, especially out of China, because they have a very robust system of natural medicine called traditional Chinese medicine, in which they have herbal protocols that are a first line of defense, particularly when somebody's diagnosed with cancer. And they have a lot of clinical trials that show that the herbal protocols actually help to support and enhance the conventional cancer treatments like chemotherapy and radiation, and that they improve the quality of life for the people who are taking those herbal protocols alongside their conventional treatments. And so I see a future where herbal medicine is no longer feared by doctors, and that we can bridge the gap where both herbalists and doctors can come together to give the best outcome and the best quality of life to our patients.
Very well said, Miss Bonnie. Very well said. What are the most significant changes you anticipate in how we consume or use herbs?
I think as herbs become a bigger part of people's lives and the desire to treat ourselves naturally, we are going to continue to look for methods that can deliver those herbs most efficiently. And most herbalists know that a capsulated dried herb that is sold on a shelf is not going to be a highly effective way of consuming herbal medicine, and that delivery is one big factor, but also how those herbs are extracted. So you can buy one tincture of one herb and another tincture from a different company of that exact same herb, and they're not necessarily going to be as strong or as potent as each other. So developing methods to improve our extraction processes in the manufacturing of those herbal products is going to be key for the future of herbal medicine so that it can find its place as being as effective or even more effective than pharmaceutical drugs.
Very well said. And what challenges does herbal medicine face in gaining mainstream acceptance today?
The biggest challenge facing herbal products and herbal medicine is a lack of funding for clinical studies. Because a natural product can't be patented, it's harder for companies and corporations to make a profit off of them. So if I spent a couple $1 million in doing some clinical trials and research on, say, echinacea, that clinical trials and that research is available for any company to use that's selling echinacea. And so that's one of the prohibitive factors why we don't see as many clinical trials and as many studies on herbal products, because there just isn't that return on investments for larger corporations. So I would like to see a future where we do have more investment in those clinical trials, and that it becomes a universal kind of pool and pot that helps to do those studies and contribute to them financially so that we can start to get those evidence out to people that this can really help to support their health journey.
Are there specific herbs or herbal compounds you believe will rise in prominence in the future?
Well, one of the things that I'm really working and focusing on to improve is cancer treatments and protocols. So currently, my research is on breast cancer, and so I'm working on an herbal protocol that I believe would be applied topically to help prevent or reduce the risk of developing breast cancer, and even potentially be used as a breast cancer formula. And I really think that this is one of the most important areas of research that can be done with herbal medicine, is looking at what herbal protocols we can use to help not just treat but also prevent the occurrence of cancer such as breast cancer or many other forms as well.
Looking forward for that breakthrough, Miss Bonnie. Keep up the good work. How might innovations in delivery methods like capsules or tinctures or nanotechnology change how we take herbs?
I think that as companies continue to look for ways, especially to be able to patent certain natural products, we're going to see innovations that allow them to kind of capture that patent, which gives them that edge in the marketplace. So I see the future as like our traditional capsules and powdered herbs being less and less prominent in the marketplace as the consumer realizes that they are not the most effective form, and that companies are going to start to develop proprietary extraction processes that are going to make their products more bioavailable.
Bioavailable indeed. And how do you address skepticism about efficacy of herbal treatments in modern medicine?
Well, I think that's a huge, huge challenge. And that goes back to the issue about the lack of clinical trials. But there is a significant amount of historical information and a fair amount of clinical trials and support for the use of herbal medicine. And I think if we start to look at countries like China and their traditional Chinese medicine, which has a large amount of clinical trials and proprietary formulas, and use that as a sort of model for how we can start to replicate that here in the US and in Europe and in other countries, to start to invest more in those herbal protocols so that they can become part of our conventional medical treatments instead of being called alternative medicine. And I really dislike the term of herbal medicine being called alternative medicine, because I really see herbal medicine as the traditional medicine, the medicine that preceded conventional medicine, or allopathic medicine, as we call it in the natural products world. And so I would like to see a place where in people's mind frames, they start to shift about what herbal medicine is and start to find their way back to the traditional roots that we have so that we can integrate that back into our medical system. Another big barrier is cost prohibitions. For a lot of people to see a natural health practitioner, they have to pay out of pocket, and that can get very, very expensive. So it's limited to people who have the financial resources. If we can reach a point where an herbal consultant like myself is seen as a necessary um, medical diagnoses or medical treatment, and that those things can be covered by part of their insurance, it'll open up the doors for more people to receive treatment through an herbalist like myself.
What are the some exciting trends in herbal medicine that you've seen merge today or merge globally?
I see more and more people seeking alternatives to their pharmaceuticals. The people who come into my clinic often are on a number of pharmaceutical drugs, and they're looking to get off of them. They recognize that they have a lot of negative side effects. And one of my kind of quotes that I always say is, you should never take a pill that has more side effects than you have symptoms. And if we look at the side effect lists that are in most of our pharmaceutical drugs, it's rather appalling that you're taking a pill to get rid of a symptom that you have, but that pill is going to cause even more symptoms on down the line. So I think as people start to kind of wake up and recognize what they're actually putting into their body, they're going to start looking for those alternative forms of medicine that can actually help to heal and restore. Because if we really think about what a pharmaceutical drug is doing, it's not actually healing and restoring the body. It is masking a set of symptoms. And herbal medicine actually provides a route to actually heal and restore the underlying systems of the body that have gone awry. So there's a big difference between a pharmaceutical and an herbal product, because one is just masking symptoms and one is actually helping to heal the body.
Totally healing the body itself. And what the yes, what environmental or sustainability concern impact the future of herbal medicine production?
So that's a huge issue. And it's part of the reason why I started my nonprofit, Michigan Protects, because a lot of the plants that we are using in herbal medicine are harvested from the wild. And there's a big issue with over harvesting, and conservation efforts is seeking to try and preserve those plants for future generations. For instance, one of the most um, popular herbal medicines that is harvested from the wild is American ginseng. And a lot of the American ginseng that is harvested here in the United States is shipped overseas because it is a very prized medicine. And as we start to see those natural wild stands be depleted, it should put up a warning flag, because plants like American ginseng are not cultivated well. In order to cultivate American ginseng, you have to grow it under shade cloth. And the other issue is missing is that when we cultivate ginseng, we find that it just does not have the same quality as the plants that are harvested from the wild. So that's one of the biggest issues that is facing herbal medicine, especially if we want to be able to expand our reach and our use with more people. We'll see that the amount of plants that we have to harvest from the wild are only increasing.
Definitely. And Miss Bonnie, as a clinical herbalist and holistic health consultant, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short-term goals are, of course, like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on that breast cancer formula. And my long-term goals is I'm starting my doctoral degree in the fall, and so that's going to be a big step for me, educationally wise. And I'm kind of looking forward to a future in which I can position myself as an expert in the field of herbal medicine for cancer treatment.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Bonnie, and looking forward for more success.
Thank
And what
you.
would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be, of course, like you?
You follow your own path in your heart. Like it will guide you if you learn to listen to it. And in order to listen to our heart, we have to learn to silence our mind. And our mind can be our greatest enemy at times. And we need to recognize that there's more than one voice inside of ourselves. And we have to quiet the voice up here in our mind and be able to listen to our heart so that it can guide us in the right direction.
Yes, indeed. And thank you for that advice, Miss Bonnie. And can you please recommend a book that influenced your journey?
Absolutely. I have it sitting next to me here because it is the book that changed my life and perspective on everything. And it's Foundations of Esotericism by Rudolf Steiner. And it changed my entire perspective of the world. In there, Rudolf Steiner details his cosmology of the universe and how everything is created and made up. And it greatly informed my work as a holistic healer, as a health practitioner, and as a human being in and of itself, and changed my spiritual practices and really aligned me to having more of a cosmic vision instead of just an earthly vision.
Thank you for that recommendation, Miss Bonnie. And how might education and awareness campaigns change public perception of herbal remedies?
I think when we, especially here in the US, stop the FDA's war against natural products and we allow them to have a voice, that is going to make a huge difference in the accessibility to people. When you have an organization like the FDA that is actively trying to stop information about natural products and natural medicine from reaching the public, it's really hard for people to find the information that they need to be able to heal themselves naturally.
Definitely. And what role do you see for herbal medicine in addressing chronic diseases or mental health?
So, when it comes to chronic diseases, I think that is one of the mainstays of herbal medicine, particularly because it can work to help heal and restore the body's systems at a cellular level. Versus, it doesn't mask a set of symptoms. You're not going to find an herbal product that's going to just mask um, your symptoms that you have. Like, so for instance, diabetes. There's a lot of herbs that can help to lower blood sugar, but they not just help to lower your blood sugar, they also help to restore the health of the pancreas, to improve the body's resistance to insulin, and to help restore you to a state of total health. And when it comes to mental health, I think understanding that food is medicine is one of the keys to improving health. There are lots of scientific research that shows that a lot of mental illnesses, particularly like schizophrenia, is not a disease of the brain, but it is a disease of the digestive system. And we need to start really thinking about the fact that what we eat is who we are, because our brain functions entirely off of chemicals, and the chemicals come from the foods that we eat.
How do cultural traditions influence the development and adaptation of herbal remedies today?
I think it's a huge cultural thing, especially if you look at like traditional Chinese medicine. That's really embedded in the history and culture of China. And then you also have things like Ayurvedic medicine, which is really embedded in the history and culture of India. And particularly here in the West, we don't have that deep, deep tradition embedded in us. It had been lost through time as it was replaced with doctors. And part of what we need is a return to those roots and a return to the plants of the earth that we once used as healing. And I think here in the West, we don't have the cultural mindset that they do in the East about natural medicine. Not as a blanket flat, everybody in the East goes to see an herbalist before they go to see a doctor, but on a larger scale, you see culturally in the East, people will turn to herbal medicine long before they go to see a doctor. Part of that is financial resources and medical systems, but the other part of that is something deeply embedded in the culture that understands that the plants have power.
Definitely, plants have power, people, to heal our bodies or illnesses. What advancements in cultivation or sourcing are shaping the quality of herbal medicine?
So that's one of the most challenging things to herbal medicine, that plants really need their natural habitat to be the most potent. Plants that are cultivated like a monoculture where it is one crop spread out across a landscape do not have the same amount of constituents in them as the plants that are in their natural habitat. And so part of the advancements and the movement that we're starting to see with herbal medicine is starting to do what's called, forest farming. We are starting to plant the plants in their natural habitat so that they can still have that powerful impact that they have when they're grown in their natural soil. And so that means changing the way that we approach farming, because you can't go into a forest with a large combine. And so it's a return to not just plant power, but people power, and valuing people's input into the food chains and the herbal medicine systems that produce those herbs. And so, in some ways, it's a turn away from medical technology and back to the roots of where we came from, and understanding that if we deviate too far away from those natural systems of growing plants, then we also deviate too far away from the medicine that the plants can offer us.
Very well said, Miss Bonnie. Very well said. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast. And because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course my book 101 review in fifth season too. And Miss Bonnie, uh, if or what your boldest prediction for how herbal medicine will transform healthcare in the next decade?
I think in the next decade that herbal medicine will start to replace our conventional healthcare systems that we have now, and that the conventional medical systems are going to have to adapt to consumer demand. And consumer demand is for products that do not harm their body. I think no longer will people settle for a pill that has more side effects than they have symptoms, and that they will demand clean medicine that does not come with a 10-page warning letter as to the side effects that that medicine is going to cause them.
Miss Bonnie the Arcangelo, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, as well as any projects that you are doing right now?
Yes, please do follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. All of the social media channels are under my business name, eTherbal, and you can find my website, etherbal.com, where you can learn more about my herbal products and how I am changing the face of herbal medicine.
Yes, people love support Miss Bonnie. They are going below because if you support her, for sure, more and more breakthrough to come, more and more empowering herbs that will cure a disease right now. So, Miss Bonnie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. It was wonderful to be here.
More to come, people. See you soon.